of self-discovery and transformation. My name is Christy, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jen.
Hi, everyone. We are thrilled to have you join us on this enlightening journey. Our goal is to guide you through your spiritual awakening with the help of incredible guests from various modalities who are experts in their field.
And today we have the very special guest, Mikalena Knight, an expansion coach, business coach, astrologer, and author. Welcome, Mikalena. Oh, where did she go?
Hi everyone who's watching live.
Thanks for joining us, Mikalena.
No, I'm excited. I didn't realize this was going to be live, so I'm feeling a bit of pressure now.
Oh my gosh. It's all right. It's not, if it was TikTok, we'd have hundreds of viewers, but we can't quite work out how to get over there yet. So we will soon. We're just easing ourselves into this space. So thank you. Now, Mikalena, spiritual awakenings can be profound turning points for people in their lives. Could you tell us about your own spiritual awakening and what led you to the path that you're on today? Was that through a spiritual awakening?
I guess a catalyst? I feel like I was set on the path quite early on, even though I didn't have the language for it. Spiritual awakenings can be a little more gentle and long-term. I think that we get into these spiritual communities and we think we need to have some big grand story about how one day we were living our normal lives and the next day there was a bolt of lightning that came down from spirit and everything looks different. But it usually doesn't work like that. By the time we get to that, what we will later describe as a lightning bolt, we've had things happening along the way. And I feel like I was always directed that way. And I joined the Navy. My big moment looking back was I joined the Navy. I had to leave the Navy because of medical reasons. I was sitting in my mum's house and she's psychic. She does all that sort of work. And I pulled a book off the shelf about Gardnerian witchcraft. There's just something about it that caught my eye and I pulled it out. And I'm like, I have to go find somewhere where I can learn this and do this. So I launched into the Wiccan path and I entered a journey of ceremonial magic, occultism, and it all just came out from there. So I know Wicca gets a bad rap and I can understand why, because it does attract a certain kind of person. But the circle I entered into, like we studied theosophy and gnosticism and like all of these really incredible philosophies. And that's where I started to put my spirituality into practice, living practice.
I love that. I think, something that comes up for me a lot in this space, because I had quite a big awakening, but what I see people do is go into comparison, right? And I hear people say, but I had an awakening, but it was nothing like huge. It wasn't like a big crack and bang. And there's like, so was that or was that not? Like, and it's almost like they're waiting for the end and anticipating, I suppose, the big thing. I think this is, really important not to go into comparison and just sort of trust the journey that we're being led on, like yourself, right?
Oh, it can be really subtle. Just waking up one day and thinking, I deserve more than this. Like that's a spiritual awakening. Anything,
right? The shift of reality.
That's basically what it is. And not everyone is designed to be in communication with spirit. Some people's spirituality comes up through the roots from the earth. Some of it comes through people around us. For some people, a spiritual experience is really cognitive, others emotional. So I think we get caught up in these transcendental ideas about how it should look like. And this stretches across lifetimes. Like our journey will be different from lifetime to lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Your journey into spirituality and astrology sounds really fascinating. And I'm really curious how that has shaped your path as an expansion coach and astrologer, and what prompted you to become a business mentor as well.
Well, that's quite a long journey in itself. It took a long time for me to get to actually living and teaching astrology. My first experience of it, I would have been about 11 or 12. Mum had an old book called Parker's Astrology in the cupboard. And I used to take that out of the cupboard and just run my hands over those beautiful pictures of the zodiac. If anyone's had experience with that book, like that imagery is just it's an initiation, just sitting there and taking in that imagery. And I remember looking back, didn't understand a bloody word of it, but I just remember looking at it and I knew there was something special in it. And so, then I was living a very normal life and joined the Navy. Like, that had a spiritual purpose in itself, even though it seems like the last thing you would say is a spiritual part of a spiritual journey. And I just followed my heart, which is a really cliche thing to say, but I had to go through those really tangible, mundane milestones to get to where I was. Like, I worked for a number of years and just in jobs that I absolutely despised. Absolutely. I felt like my soul was withering and dying in my body, until one day, after having the worst experience with the bitchiest boss, I can't do this anymore. I cannot live like this anymore. I need to go and do a degree in holistic medicine, naturopathy. That led me into my first business, which was in wellness. That took off. That came to several $1 million. I hit that $1 million mark within 3 years, and that was really successful. Then I had a complete collapse of myself, my being. I realized that, this isn't what I thought I wanted. Oh, the money is. I'm built for wealth. I've always wanted to be wealthy. But how I got there and where I was, I knew it was meant to be, but it wasn't where I wanted to stay. So going on to do my second business. This is a very long-winded story, sorry, but
I love it.
Lots of spiritual courses, certifications, things in archetypes, energy healing, intuitive discovery, all of those things. I'm an experimenter, so I'll just go, that looks good, I'll learn that. Oh, that looks good, I'll learn that. And eventually I had astrology dropped in my path, and I met that one person who showed me what was really possible through it, that it wasn't just that surface level, this is your personality, this is why you are the way you are. It was like, this is the bridge, the channel to your higher purpose, to your vision, to your destiny. Like, it's all in your astrology. It's in your natal, it's in your chart.
Yeah.
This is your coding in this sacred record, and you can get to the truth of everything you're looking for with this piece of paper.
Yeah.
I have to bring this to the world in my coaching.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where I got, and I shared some of that because, it's not necessarily a mystical journey. Like, we go through those gates and it can get really messy and mundane, but it's just about going with where we're guided to be.
Yeah. Being like trusting the process, allowing yourself to be led, right? And taking notice, like, to me, this is even like when I teach people to read, it's like, look at where you're hyper focusing on. Like, when we walk through life, what interests you, what lights you up, sort of. And it sounds to me like you followed that path, and I think that's being intuitively led.
Yeah, look, I've got a Scorpio stellium, my moon, my south node, Pluto's there. So I just run into anything that looks dark and deep, and that's led me to some really interesting places. But the thing is with astrology, you can read out of a book, but it's really understanding human experience, energetic patterns, the spiritual purpose and things. And I think a lot of astrologers, the best astrologers, come to it through those life experiences, understanding human psychology and those sort of things, and understanding people's experience in business, which is how I obviously apply it. But you don't read astrology out of a book. Like, you live it.
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So for our audience who might be going through a spiritual awakening themselves, how can astrology be a valuable tool for understanding and embracing their transformative journey?
Well, there's two layers I talk about. It's that really frustrating thing of the answers are inside yourself. And look, they are, but we are trying to work through our subconscious mind. We're trying to work through emotional obstacles, all of those things which block our ability to go within. So sometimes we do have to look outside of us, and that's where astrology comes in. Astrology is not a modality that was created. We are astrology. We're literally dead stardust. So we have that inherent connection with the universe, and the universe sets our energetic coding. And so looking out to learn how to access that coding, and astrology is the fastest way to knowing yourself and knowing your craft. It is
So it's
our
like
own
understanding.
sacred...
Oh, keep going.
It's our own sacred record of our whole evolutionary journey.
Yeah.
And that includes like our wealth, our success, all of the parts of business. It is there in that natal chart. Or the natal chart is really like a blueprint. I call it a blueprint of ourself and our soul. So that's how I work with astrology and bring it into motion through the tangible. What can we do with this information to make our lives better, to achieve what we want, to create our impact?
Would you say it's like understanding your operating software?
Yes, that's a really great way of describing it.
Yeah.
But also recognizing the shadows that get in the way, the things that obstruct us. That cliche, another cliche, there's a lot of spiritual jargon out there, but that cliche, if we get in our own way, and we do, but that's a useless thing to say unless we know how to actually witness what we're doing to ourselves, how we're doing it, and recognizing the potential and the power in the pain. So, and astrology does all that. It covers all of those layers.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. So, there's something else that I want to talk about is your Facebook group, Mission Driven Women Community. I'm really curious about this because I'm a huge believer in sacred space and places where we can, network and share and all the things. What inspired you to create this community, and how does it support women in business with purpose?
Well, we've actually changed the name of it now. We've called it Spiritual Business Alchemy. Yes.
Oh, there you go. So what's it called? Spiritual Business Alchemy.
Spiritual Business Alchemy. Beautiful. Yeah, I actually trademarked that term a while back. And Stacey, my sister, my partner in one form of our business.
Partner in crime.
Yeah, we're like, well, I've trademarked this for me, but I think we are destined to do this together. So that's how we came to shifting the name. But this is what it's really about, is that spiritual business alchemy. And that is helping women across those multiple dimensions. I feel like spiritual women get really caught up in that energetic and the philosophy and the feminine energy and wanting to bring our craft to the world, but forget that there's this whole other masculine piece of it, which is the structure and the marketing and all of those things that do feel mundane.
Yeah.
So me and my sister, we say we're the perfect feminine entrepreneur because I do the energetics, alignment, like helping people find their mission and the way they're meant to do things.
Yeah.
And Stacey does the amplification part of it with the marketing, the messaging, communication, the networking. She teaches women how to do that. So there's both of us bringing those energies together, and it works really, really, really well.
Yeah, I love that. We're actually interviewing Stacey next week. We've got two Staceys on the show next week, one after the other. We've got to get which Stacey. It's going to be confusing, but I'm really glad that she's coming on, and just the magic. I've witnessed you two in operation, and you are a magical duo. So yeah, that's beautiful. I can't wait to see like everything that you create. I just want to have a little sneak peek into the future to what that looks like. It's exciting.
It's perfect because Stacey's found a lot of people come to her wanting to do the marketing and wanting to get their message out there, but it's not aligned. And a lot of women sink so many thousands of dollars into all of this advice, and they're not in that alignment, which allows them to really accelerate with that. So that's where people start with me, and we do the mission mapping, and we get into that alignment, and my experience in business helps with that. And by the time they get to Stace, they're ready to go. Their offers are created and infused with their magic. Their messaging is really anchored. Yeah. They know who they are. They know their craft. We've got something packaged up, ready to go. And then Stace takes over. So it's actually a perfect journey that we take people through from start to impact and income.
Yeah, beautiful. I just want to say that when you started talking about that just then, you completely lit up. Did you see that, Jen? You literally lit up in that moment. So to me, that's perfect alignment.
That's good. We can't see ourselves. That's the thing. But I mean, it's not just about the spiritual experience for me. It's about putting that into motion in the world. seeing people with their magic out there. Like we work with women who have really big vision and even bigger mission, and they know their purpose is to create an impact, to build a legacy.
Yeah.
So this is what I love to do, and I want that legacy to involve wealth. I'm really passionate about the wealth kind of thing.
Right. I think this is something, sorry, I know Jen's got a question here, but I just want to ask this question about business because I think it's really important. There's so much, I want to say, the word wealth and wealth creation is a little bit tarnished, right? So many people have a different sort of attachment to it. But I liken it to, if I'm looked after, if I have an abundance of flow, it helps me show up in a way that I'm able to literally be of service to my highest potential. That wealth. Something just happened there. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was just the glitch.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying was, without that, without the wealth, we can't show up to, our highest to bring what we need to bring to the world, that magic.
No, it's like there's some kind of spiritual hierarchy around service. And if you are making money from it, you're at the bottom of the hierarchy. You don't deserve to consider yourself a spiritual leader.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had people say, I'd give the shirt off my back. I'm like, to me, there's no glory in that. You've got one shirt, you give that away.
Yeah.
You've got nothing left. Whereas if you make money and have 1,000 shirts to give, and that's just from the perspective of service.
Yeah.
Like we are designed to be fulfilled and to have desire.
Yeah.
And if we limit our ability to receive that wealth, then we limit our desire. And I absolutely believe that desire is an expression of purpose. We don't desire something unless it is destined to be. So by cutting ourselves off from that energy of money, from receiving, from integrating, then we're actually limiting our ability to live our purpose. And we fucking deserve to be compensated for the good we're doing in the world. Like, what is this craziness around this? I mean, it's the divine law of compensation.
Yeah.
One of the spiritual
it's an energetic exchange.
Exactly. Like we can have a bigger
energetic exchange
from being able to receive and then send that magic back out in the world. You can do whatever you want with the money. There's charities there who would take it all if you gave it.
If you don't want it, go give it to charity, right? And I also think, that when we, even like as someone receiving a service, I feel like that service lands so much deeper for me when I pay for it, right? It's just like, you can get all the free masterclasses and all the free ebooks in the world and you can read them, but it's when you actually invest in yourself, you're not paying, you're investing because you're an asset, that the learning from that lands at a deeper. You can get the same thing for free, and when you pay for it, it just completely lands at a different level, like cellularly.
Absolutely. It's like your energy intertwines with that thing.
Totally.
And from a psychological perspective, you take it more seriously. From an energetic perspective, that's kind of a contract, an energetic contract that you are invested in this journey, that you're going to do the work, that you're going to move forward. When something's free, you don't invest in it in the same way. I absolutely believe that.
Me too. Exactly.
100%. Speaking of magic, your book, Emotional Alchemy with Essential Oils. That sounds amazing. So how do essential oils complement spiritual growth and emotional understanding?
Well, essential oils are activators. They've got a bad reputation, especially with all the junk out there. There's a big difference between pure essential oils and naturally acquired essential oils. And there are very, very few essential oils out there that are natural. So I discount the world.
Speaking to someone whose mother owns manufacturing essential oil plant, and she has her own organic tea tree farm, and like that, just hands down, like you need to know the difference, right?
Oh, absolutely. And people go and buy a $12 essential oil and think it would do the same thing as something that's $30. Like the reason the price tag's on them is because they're actually real. So just in that itself, like that makes a difference. You cannot get the same physical, emotional, spiritual effects, results out of buying something off the shelf. You need to be able to source them. I mean, I could talk about this all day because essential oils have been part of my journey for a long time, but you can buy an essential oil from a wholesale, from a farm, but there's nothing stopping you adulterating that and adding lots of chemicals to stretch it out so that you can make more money off it. This is the thing. Even organic oils are typically adulterated. So that's a different thing. I just wanted to put that out there. But in terms of what an essential oil actually is, it's a concentration of energy, of that plant's medicine, of that plant's essence. A true essential oil will evaporate. If you leave the bottle off, the cap off, it will evaporate. It is energy in a liquid. That is the concentration of the plant's medicine. That's how it affects us physically. It is an emotional activator, which is where it affects us emotionally. Spiritually, it carries the vibrations of what the plant represents, the spirit. So it's working at all levels. And this is why I see they're so powerful, is because everything we're going through happens at the physical, in the emotional, in the cognitive, and in the spiritual. If you want to have a spiritual change, you need to work on your neurology, work on your living tissues. There's no separation there.
No.
And so an essential oil will work across all levels for that activation, that initiation, resolving those imbalances.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite essential oils? Sorry, Jen.
The one I use the most is frankincense, and that goes in every one of my astrology blends. But there's nothing like frankincense. I go through a bottle of that a month. Like, that's the anchor, that's the alignment. This anchor integrates our spiritual experiences. We need frankincense if we want to be grounded. Our cosmic anchor is frankincense. So I just use that all the time. It's a really powerful one. What else would be my favorite? I think that's probably would be my favorite. Other than that, there's an oil that my company used to have called white fur, and I used to call that my soul oil. So I've got a few bottles of that stashed away, and I use that sparingly. That's probably my other one.
Yeah, nice. I like frankincense would have to be my favorite, and vetiver actually when the kids were younger. So we did 50-50, and the Fridays would be mayhem, like madness and mayhem. We would just throw the mattresses on the floor in the lounge room. It was like, we're getting takeaway. You guys just need to do, like, dads would come home all excited, and it was just crazy. So I started using vetiver that day before they came home. A couple of drops into the mop. I would literally sing around the house and like crazy. I think my neighbors thought I was crazy, and I'd be like planting spells of groundedness. But the vetiver, like, straight away, and even my husband was like, can you mop before they come again, please? Because whatever you're doing there, it's working. It's really powerful.
Yeah, that's one of the strongest anchors. I mean, who doesn't love wild orange? Even the lavender, a true lavender, not lavender spike, not adulterated lavender. Like, lavender carries the energy of the violet ray. So that it's lavender, lavera means to wash. So like that is that spiritual flush, that energetic clearing from, again, the true lavender. So I mean, there's so many oils. They're all good.
Yeah, I love that. You talk about being the custodian of a business. What do you mean? Like, just so our viewers and listeners understand, when you say a custodian of a business, to me it sounds like a custodian of land. Is that kind of the same thing? What do you mean by you have been or are a custodian of business?
I feel like while we build a business, while we can create things within that business, when we sign on to be a spiritual leader, legacy leader, we're really a custodian of that journey. Like, we are guiding that journey. We're holding the energy of those we work with. Although we're different. Those of us aren't just stepping into business to make money. Like, we are, that's part of our experience, is making money. But we make money from the number of lives we impact. That's how I used to assess where I was aligned. It's like, the amount of money I have is equal to the amount of impact, the number of humans that I impact. And I feel like that's where we do become custodians, because we're guiding people on their journey. We're taking them to different places in life. We are stepping up in responsibility of supporting a person with whatever we are working with. So we're not just building something for others to stand on. We're building something that helps others rise. And I feel like we have a great responsibility as spiritual leaders, like carrying this energy as we go forward. So that's how we're custodian. It's not just something we put out there. For those of us in spiritual business, there's not a separation. There is at one level, but there's another level. It's like our business reflects our life reflects our business. So we've got to learn to hold the energy of this business and take it forward. So that's what I mean by that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
So could you give us a sneak peek into some of the programs you're currently working on? I know there's the astrology mission mapping sessions, and then you've got the Cosmic Creator Astrology membership. Yes. How can they benefit people seeking purpose and direction?
Well, I'm in a massive reinvention phase right now. So a year ago, I like everything gone. I need to reset. So currently I have my mission mapping, and that's the one-on-one with the exploration of your blueprint, your astrological blueprint. And that's not a reading as such. I don't do astrology readings. I'll actually sit down with you and go through the elements of your blueprint, which are meant to come through as part of your business, as part of your mission. And like, we're really, I guess you could look at it as an activation, initiation even, of like, this is what you may not see. This is what I am confirming for you. This is what you're meant to do. This is how you're meant to do it. Down to marketing, pricing, all of that. It's all in your blueprint. So that's what that mission mapping is designed for. There's another level of that where I take someone through that process over 4 weeks, and that allows for a lot more conversation, more mentoring, going deeper into the blueprint itself. What else? I've got my Cosmic Creator. Yes, that's my monthly membership where I give everyone the astrology for the month and give guidance on how to use the aspects and the planetary movements to be able to move us forward in business. And I've got the alignment code coming up, which is about our personal alignment that opens a channel so our soul can come through into our business. Like, know yourself, know your craft. The alignment code is knowing yourself at the human and the soul levels.
I love that. I just want to be really clear, because I know we've had this conversation prior to today, that like the stuff you do with astrology is not natal chart reading. I just want to be really clear with that. It is deeper. Yeah, beautiful.
It's multidimensional. I like to say multidimensional wealth, multidimensional business, because that's really what it's about. It's about looking at all those different layers. So we're not just looking at your sun sign. We're not just looking at your moon sign. We actually look at how to bring all those energies together. We look at your midheaven, your nodes, your Chiron as part of your medicine. Like, what are you here to share? How are you here to share it? And what are you meant to do? And where are you meant to lead people? That's what we look at.
Yeah. So like, if you're meant to work one-on-one with people, or in groups with people, or in small groups or big groups, and how you bring that magic in, and
and how to up-level your offers, how to infuse more of your magic. I've got a very strong Aries, so I'm not designed to sit with people in a 9-month-long journey, taking them through an incredible transformation. Like, I'm an Aries. I want to get in with you for a couple hours, activate stuff, and then get out and watch you soar. Like, that is my energy. Whereas someone who has a very strong Scorpio energy, they go on long journeys with people, 9 to 12 months. They go through that emotional process with someone, guiding them through. Like, the idea of that, I tried that, but then I stopped trying that because it wasn't working, and because I'm like, oh, that's not how I'm meant to be living my business. So it shifts everything.
It does. Beautiful. So through your work as an expansion and business coach and astrologer, I'd say you've likely encountered various transformational stories along your way. Is there anything in particular, or like particularly inspiring, that stands out or memorable with your clients' successes that you could share with us?
I have witnessed a few incredible shifts that have, in a very short time, taken someone to a new experience of business. So someone struggling to find their way, struggling to grasp at that thing that they know is inside them, that truth, that reality, like that expression of magic. And then within a couple of days, they have changed their language, they've envisioned a new offer, and they have people coming up and saying, I want to work with you, I want to work with you, I want to work with you. So that's something that can happen. Like the shifts don't necessarily need to take a long time.
No.
The transformations don't need to stretch out for years or even decades, but it's the getting there that takes the time. So that's where astrology accelerates us through that process. And I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging to us, like our limitations challenge us more than anything. And getting through that resistance, it's about knowing how to evolve through that. And that can happen in a really short time. It can also help women who want to do big work in a very short space of time know what to navigate as they get there. So the shorter we make our journey, the more challenge we need to face in a shorter time. And that's where I think astrology can really help as well. Like the amount of growth I've had since I was shown my blueprint 4 years ago, that could have taken 10 years. So it kind of compounds things, and you get the power from that faster, and that release of those inner forces takes you forward. And I've witnessed that's what can happen in business.
Beautiful.
Incredible offers, reaching people that they never dreamed of reaching, people walking up, knocking on the door and saying, how do I work with you? Like that's the sort of thing that happens.
Amazing. Awesome. So as our audience consists mainly of women who are going through a spiritual awakening, what practical steps or modalities do you recommend they explore to support their healing and growth?
Well, of course, I'm going to recommend astrology. So having been through this myself, having done some pretty challenging work and having tried a lot of different things, this might disrupt some people here, but I would actually say avoid the shadow work. Avoid the shadow work. It's sold to us as a transformational experience, but often what can happen is people who actually don't understand human transformation can take us down into the shadow and don't know how to get us back out. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of people get stuck. So it's not that we need to deny our limitations or shadows, but we need to aim ourselves forwards. Who do we want to be? What are our potentials? How can we use those potentials in the world and work with those limitations as they rise up? So that's what I suggest, is finding someone who understands human transformation, not just the concepts, but the actual living experience of transformation that guides you through, and aim for that growth, aim for that truth, aim for that freedom. Otherwise, you're forever going to be walking backwards, trying to find your way forwards. Business growth doesn't work like that.
No, I think a lot of people get stuck. Like, when I journey people into shadow work, they get stuck. And it's, for me, I find it easy to guide most people out. The ones that stay stuck are choosing to stay stuck. But I think, you're right. Without the right guidance, like, going into the sexuality space and having a coach that's not trauma informed, right? You need to make sure that you have the guidance. And it's not something we need to do all the time, right?
I think there's a lot of people out there implanting the beliefs in us. I see that a lot. It's like going to someone for help and, oh, you've got trauma. So that person believes that they've got trauma, and then they're working on something that wasn't actually relevant to their growth forward. Instead of looking at things the way that keeps us stuck, it's like, all right, well, what's the solution here? What's the growth here? And there's a really powerful process of transformation that I learned in a Quantum Leap coaching certification. And the first one is often missed. That first stage of transformation is often missed, and that's the inner authority. That strength, that power to be able to disrupt the thought, to be able to observe what we're experiencing, our emotions, our thoughts, without getting involved in them. Stepping outside of ourselves and observing and becoming the observer of the observation. that's part of it. But if we haven't got that inner authority to shift the thoughts, to hold that emotion and then shift the emotion, then we're going to be stuck in the same cycles forever.
Totally.
So that inner authority aspect is missed so much, 99% of the time.
Agreed.
And then after the authority comes the acceptance. And then after that, the appreciation.
Yeah. Acceptance is key.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I'm
people
trying
think
to
it's forgiveness. I'm like, fuck forgiveness. You need, like, because sometimes you can't forgive. I think it's more important to accept than it is to forgive.
Well, the acceptance happens before the forgiveness.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we get stuck trying to change something that's never going to be able to be changed because we get stuck with that thought process in the past.
Oh, exactly. Like we actually often don't even need to do forgiveness. It happens naturally as we come into acceptance. I accept this. I accept all of this. I accept this happened to me. No one's to blame. No one's keeping me stuck. I accept what happened there. I accept what's happening now. And from that, the solutions, the path forward opens up. It's the hardest part, but that authority has to come first. Like, this is mine.
Absolutely.
This is all mine. It doesn't matter what this person did or is doing to me. This is mine.
Yeah, and radically own it.
Oh, radical ownership. It's really, really important.
Absolute key. Beautiful. I've got some questions around the astrology piece.
Okay.
What would be some misconceptions around astrology, and how do you address them with your clients and in your teachings? I know you're going to love this question so much.
Oh, I could talk about that one all day. I mean, one come up just before when we were joking about Mercury messing with a computer, and I said, Mercury doesn't want to fuck with our computers. Like, he's got better things to do. There's a lot of misconception in astrology. Like, the same information regurgitated over and over and over. The retrogrades are one of them. I see so many posts on, Pluto's going into retrograde, everything's going to start collapsing. It doesn't work like that. If we fear retrogrades, we'll be in fear for 6 months of the year, because retrograde season spans over months. And they're not actually, the planets are never out to get us. They're conspiring for good. They're guiding us. So don't look at these retrogrades as something that's going to disrupt your entire life. We're meant to be in an inwards phase. We start the year, Aries season, we come in, we activate, we initiate, we create. And then as it comes around to Virgo season, the planets are in retrograde, and that's when we reflect. So just going into this one a little more, because I feel like this is one of the biggest misconceptions. When planets are in retrograde, they're not going backwards, they're pulling away. So the Earth pulling away from the Earth. So I actually talk about this as an experience that pulls the magic out of us. That's that gravitational pull. Yeah. It's the only disruption that happens is that our resistance to that growth.
I love that. Yeah. So when you say pulls the magic out of us, is that what you said? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, it pulls the magic out of us, the wisdom, the power, like this.
Learning.
Yeah. That's brings it to the surface so that we can see it.
Yeah. I was
like almost puts it in front of us.
You don't just believe the spiritual jargon. Actually go and imagine what's really happening instead of, instead of actually just accepting what someone says. Like, open yourself up to not only the mystery, but also the manifestation of it. So this is where I'm a bit of a reality junkie. So even though I have done multiple certifications in energy work, and I work at I love esoteric astrology. So I look at that spiritual experience of astrology. I'm still looking at reality, going, well, how does this impact my reality? And Mercury doesn't screw with our computers. He doesn't be bothered with that.
I hear people say all the time, the moon made me do it. And I know the moon, I get that, like, we are water beings, and I understand that it would have some sort of effect on us. But I think if we have the awareness that is happening, we can actually own our shit, right? We can go, okay, well, I've got this shit going on right now, and I get to choose what is happening. I'm not going to hand my power over to something completely out of this energy that's right here.
And the moon is another myth, is that it's some beautiful feminine energy. I actually heard someone on the internet say the moon's a bitch. And I was like, yeah, because the moon's moving 8 degrees through the zodiac a day. She's making multiple contacts some days with different planets and in the really supportive and challenging aspects. Like, it's not some beautiful emotional journey. Like, she's disruptive in a way that other planets aren't. This is why our mood is so up and down. This is why our emotional energy can be so erratic.
I mean, it affects the tide, so it's going to affect us as being water beings, right?
Oh, absolutely. And like, the moon doesn't make us do anything. She just creates external pressures that we are responding to. So anything that's disrupting our energy, that emotional reactivity, it's like, all right, what is it that I actually need to uncover here? So yeah, I love all these moon memberships that are all pretty and pink. I'm like, yeah, the moon doesn't work like that. She's bloody temperamental.
She is.
Yeah.
So beyond your programs and mentorship, how can women continue their self-discovery and personal transformation on their spiritual journey?
I think it's getting curious and paying attention to your inner signals. I had someone challenge me a few weeks ago, and that she said, I don't believe that people find what they need as they need it. I'm like, I absolutely do. And there's a reason I found astrology when I did, is because I had to learn all the things that I needed to learn first. So if you're feeling called to something, explore that. Don't just suppress it. Like, keep your eyes open. Look for the opportunities. Is there something you want to learn? I mean, there's a whole other conversation on going and throwing lots of money at something, thinking it's going to be a solution. But this is more looking at what's going to advance your journey.
Yeah.
Nothing changes unless we change it. So to evolve on your spiritual journey, you need to facilitate change in some way. Now, how are you guided to do that? My first spiritual training ever was Reiki. And if people who know me would probably laugh at that, because I'm the kind of person who's least likely to do Reiki ever. But I just knew I needed to go, and that opened up the door to other things. Even if it doesn't make sense, sometimes it's the thing we need to do. You might meet the person who takes you to the next thing you need to do. So I think it's staying open, staying aware, walking towards opportunities, pausing and going, is this what I really need? And trusting your instincts there. Even if you're not absolute certain, put it on the shelf and say, is there anything else that I'm meant to be doing right now? I think it's an ongoing conversation with our soul and the universe. And if we're open to listening, we will be guided.
We will be. I think, and to me, it's really important not to continue to outsource our power, right? So whether that be to Mercury retrograde or to astrology, understand, one thing I learned when I had my human design done was, to me, I was like, recognize that as my operating system. And what I noticed, once I learned something about myself, I become open to these conversations around it. And it would be the same with astrology, I would imagine. And it's like, I have this node here and this node here, and I've got my moon here. That's why I do this and this and this. And it's kind of like, well, like you actually still have a choice, right?
Oh, absolutely. I am absolutely a believer in choice. Like, everything we're experiencing is because of a choice we've made somewhere.
Yeah.
And even if we don't choose, we're still making a choice. So I am going to stand in that all day and say, you choose. This is why I tend to share more along the lines of potentials in astrology, not problems. So sometimes I do say, well, look, this could be causing a little tension today, but what you choose to do with that is ultimately what creates your reality.
Yeah.
Use it as a problem. We can go, all right, how can this facilitate my growth? That is always a choice. So that is really where spiritual power comes in, is it making those decisions, those conscious decisions, not blaming anyone else for the decisions you make. You start to make conscious decisions because you know you're in ownership of where you're taking yourself.
Yeah.
I actually do believe that all paths lead to the same destination.
Me too.
It's just how we get there. Like,
sometimes it takes a bit longer.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You might not even get there if you're not really opening yourself up to your evolutionary destiny. This is where the nodes come in. Yeah. So, some of the signs find it harder to keep directing themselves forward than others.
Yes. What are some to get stuck?
and go, oh, shiny. What's that over there? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that feels good. Oh. Others are just like laser focused and go,
Yeah.
but they can disconnect from the heart. So all of the zodiac will show up on that path in a different way, have different stumbles. And again, knowing where you're at is knowing how you approach things. And
that's where astrology comes in, because once you understand your mapping, you understand how you show up in the world, and then you can use that to your advantage to help you with your choices and decisions, right?
Yeah, it's like I've got Hades moon. So my moon is conjunct Pluto in Scorpio. So I've got a triple Hades moon actually. And like seeing Scorpio in motion, I was like, Scorpios tend to run into the darkness and get stuck there. Whereas Scorpios forget that the whole purpose of the darkness is redemption and to get to the light. So I recognized that I was just excavating and not getting anywhere. I was like, all right, what is the purpose of Scorpio? What is Scorpio designed to move towards? What's the high mission? And when you know that, you can start catching yourself out on those patterns and those bad decisions and those false desires that keep taking you into the same place over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's what knowing your blueprint is.
And you know, once you see, you can't unsee it. Then becomes a choice, right?
Yeah, and you just got to learn what to do with it once you see it. Otherwise, life tends to get even more chaotic because the energy is unleashed, but you don't really know what to do with it. So this is where you need a really strong, wise, experienced mentor.
This seems to be a topic of conversation. There's been a thread today with all of the other podcasts that sort of lead to, so how do we move through our awakening? What are some tips? And every single person has said, get a mentor. Like if you're struggling, especially if you're struggling, get a mentor. For me, I did get a mentor. I want to say I got a mentor. Probably not to the extent that I would recommend to people today, because my journey was like 8 long, drawn out years. But to bring the magic that I have today, I needed to detour to get tools to bring in. So definitely, like, a mentor helps you refocus and make that journey way shorter.
They help you see what you don't necessarily want to see and ask you to do the things you don't want to do. What I would say to that is get a mentor that stretches you, not one that validates your feelings and makes you feel good and loved. That's part of it. But you're wasting your money on nothing if you're just paying someone to be kind to you and to validate what you're going through. The whole point of it is to shift. And I'm not a gentle mentor. I stretch people. I don't accept when someone gets into my field, go, I don't know what I'm like, absolutely you do. So my sister Stace describes me as squeezing the magic out of people. And I feel like that's what I do, because I'll confront you with what you're capable of and what's possible. Like, I have compassion for people's emotions, but I'm also not going to let people stew in that, because that's the very thing that's holding them back. So,
And the change happens in the uncomfortability of it all, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Like, stretching your edges is how the growth happens. I think it's too easy to pay for things that do validate. This is why you feel this way, and there's just not enough leaders out there going, all right, I'm sorry you feel this way. I understand. I have compassion for that, but let's go. Let's actually shift to this. So,
absolutely. I remember when I was looking before, the soul connection method and speaking with spirit was birth. I think I've shared this with you before. I was looking for a mentor. I had a couple, I had conversations with a few people, and then I reached out to Kezia Lee, and I was like, we're having our chat. She's like, what brought you to me? And I said, actually, I'm going to be honest with you, you trigger the absolute fuck out of me. And I want someone that can trigger me, because that's when I can stretch. I don't want someone that's going to give me all fluff. I want someone that can bring something out of me that wasn't there before. And that's how what I do today was actually birthed through her program, because I wasn't shying away from the trigger. I actually saw that as an opportunity, not as a repulsion. So
change happens in the fire. Change
Absolutely.
Always happens in the fire. Like, that's the purpose of fire, is to transform, like the phoenix. That's not just some beautiful analogy. It's like that's actually the process that we go through. This is, it can be difficult. It can be uncomfortable. But again, there's a lot of trainings and coaching out there that just makes you comfortable in the experience that you are, that you're in. Whereas the whole point of it is to change it.
Transformation is all about change.
Yeah, like I say, this concept of alchemy is really beautiful, but alchemy is getting into the dark and facing it, not the shadow, but actually getting uncomfortable and getting in there and shifting things and peeling things back and alchemizing it so we can be redeemed and so we can resurrect and so we can rise into the light. Like being an alchemist, that's fucking hard work. And if we want to really be a spiritual leader, we've got to get comfortable with that process, like leading people to places they haven't been before. The type of leader you are is what matters, and that's again where astrology comes in.
It's awesome.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners today? Like if they're on their path to spiritual awakening or anything about astrology and what you do, is there any last pieces that you would feel called to share?
It's something that really is coming up a lot, and something that's often left out is that you can know what you need to know. That's the information, but the transformation happens through the action. So I can teach you anything. Any leader can teach you anything, but you've got to be prepared, willing to take action. There's the 3 keys I talk about. Are you open? Are you willing to, or hang on, let me try that again. Are you ready to see? Are you open to change? And are you willing to act? Because all 3 of those pieces need to be part of the shift. Like, are you open to seeing what where you're stuck, what you're going through? This is where the mental comes in. Are you ready to see your darkest parts of self and transform them? I mean, it's easy to see the shadow and just go, oh, I feel so sorry for myself. But like, it's like, all right, this exists. Now, am I open to changing that? And then am I willing to take action on it? So they're the 3 things. I think the action piece is left out far too much.
Way too much. Way too much. Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Mikalena, for sharing your wisdom and experiences with us and our listeners today. We're truly grateful for the inspiration you have provided us.
Thanks for having me.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for joining in on this enlightening episode of Elevate Your Spiritual Awakening. Remember, your journey of self-discovery and transformation is unique, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
And don't forget to check out Mikalena's Facebook group. What was it called again? Because I've got the old name here.
Spiritual Business Alchemy.
Spiritual Business Alchemy. Is it still the same link or a different link?
It's the same link. Yeah, we haven't changed that.
Okay. And, where you can connect, this is a place where you can connect with like-minded individuals to explore your business with purpose.
Yes, I've got a 5-day experience happening right now. So if you want to be in on that, it's a free one. It's happening in the group. I think day 2 video went up today.
Beautiful.
So
awesome.
It's there.
Excellent.
Amazing. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, people, where we'll continue to bring you amazing guests and powerful insights to guide you on your spiritual awakening journey.
Until next time, keep elevating your spiritual path and discovering the true essence of who you are. Take care. Big love. See you soon.
Stay curious.